Hello, Movie News Cast family, and welcome back to the channel. In the past 24 hours, we've received the heartbreaking news of the loss of some truly remarkable individuals. Today's episode is a tribute to their incredible legacies. Bob Bryar dead at 44, longest My Chemical Romance drummer. The drummer for My Chemical Romance from 2004 to 2014 has died. Thames has learned. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ Bryar was found dead in his Tennessee home Tuesday after last being seen alive on November 4. There is no foul play suspected, we're told, because all of Bryar's weapons and music equipment in the home were left untouched. Animal control came to the house after the body, which we're told was badly decomposed, was discovered and took 2 dogs away. The medical examiner is investigating the cause and manner of Bryar's death. Bryar first met the My Chemical Romance crew while they were on tour with The Used in 2004, and officially replaced Matt Pelissier shortly after they released their album, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Bryar played drums on the 2006 album, The Black Parade, perhaps the group's most well-known record, and wrote songs for the group's 2010 entry, Danger Days. The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. However, before Danger Days was released, Bryar left the group, working with other bands over the next few years before announcing he was transitioning from the music industry to real estate. In 2020, he appeared at a remembrance for and wrote about late Rush drummer Neil Peart, talking about his childhood love of and subsequent friendship with the drummer. In the years since leaving the group, Bryar has people online after admitting that he experienced suicidal thoughts multiple times since leaving MCR. While My Chemical Romance is scheduled to go on tour next year, Bob was not part of the group coming back to play. To date, he's the longest tenured drummer in band history. Bryar was 4'4". Rest in peace. Alabama A&M football linebacker Medrick Burnett Jr. has passed away at 20 years old after suffering a severe head injury during a game last month. According to local officials, he died at 5:43 p.m. Wednesday evening at UAB Hospital. Burnett Jr. was involved in the collision during A&M's matchup with Alabama State on October 26, one day before his birthday. He received treatment in the ICU and, according to his sister, had several brain bleeds and swelling. He had to have a tube to drain to relieve the pressure, and after 2 days of severe pressure, we had to opt for a craniotomy, which was the last resort to help try to save his life, Dominus James said following the on-field injury. A GoFundMe was set up to help Burnett Jr.'s family, and more than $48,000 has been raised. Alabama A&M published, and later retracted, a statement announcing Burnett Jr.'s death Wednesday morning, claiming it was notified of the tragic news from an immediate family member the night prior. Burnett Jr., a California native, appeared in 7 games this season before the tragic incident. Alice Brock, who helped inspire Arlo Guthrie's classic Alice's Restaurant, dies at 83. Arlo Guthrie's 18-minute-long, 1967 folk song, Alice's Restaurant Massacre, was inspired by his 1965 Thanksgiving meal with Alice Brock in Massachusetts. Alice Brock, the artist and restaurant owner, whose Massachusetts restaurant became the subject of folk singer Arlo Guthrie's famous 1967 song, Alice's Restaurant Massacre, has died. She was 83. Guthrie, the 77-year-old musician whose father was 20th-century folk music icon Woody Guthrie, announced Brock's death on the Facebook page for his record company Rising Sun Records on November 22, stating that Brock died on November 20 in Provincetown, Massachusetts, where Guthrie said she had been living for 4 decades. As the New York Times reported, a longtime friend of Brock said she died in hospice care from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. As Guthrie wrote in his post mourning Brock's death, he first met Brock in 1962 when she was working as a librarian at a boarding school in Stockbridge, Massachusetts that he attended, and grew acquainted with Alice and her husband Ray along with another friend named Rick. Rick and I went to visit Ray and Alice for Thanksgiving in 1965. The rest is history. Guthrie wrote. Alice went into the restaurant business, and I began my years as an entertainer. We were, both in our own ways, successful. As well as being a restaurateur, Alice also became an author and an artist. We worked together on various projects. During the next few decades, we remained friends while our lives kept us busy. She was a no-nonsense gal, with a great sense of humor. Zayn Malik honors Liam Payne at concert in late 1D mate's hometown. I hope you're seeing this. After kicking off his solo tour last weekend, Zayn Malik is keep Liam Payne's memory alive on the road. The Room Under the Stairs artist paid tribute to his fellow One Direction alum, dedicating his song, It's You to Payne in the late musician's hometown Wolverhampton, UK during the Friday stop on his Stairway to the Sky tour. So I've been doing something at the end of the show every night, and it's been dedicated to my brother Liam Payne, said Zayn on stage at University of Wolverhampton. Rest in peace. I hope you're seeing this. We're in your hometown tonight, Wolverhampton. This is for you, Liam. Zayn previously honored Payne during the opening night of his tour in Leeds. Liam Payne, 1993 to 2024. Love you, bro. Read a giant message displayed onto the stage with a heart. Before postponing several dates, Zayn previously paid tribute to his former bandmate in a heartfelt statement after Payne died at age 31 last month. After La Nation reported that Hotel Casa Sur staff called police before the incident to report an aggressive man that could have been under the influence of drugs or alcohol, a toxicology report found multiple drugs in his system at the time of death. The three suspects, who were not identified, were charged with abandonment of a person followed by death, supply, and facilitating the use of narcotics. A judge has prohibited the trio from leaving the country, but no one has been arrested. Adam Sandler dies. Oscar-nominated producer, longtime first AD for Steven Spielberg, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Ridley Scott, was 57. Oscar-nominated producer Adam Sandler, who was among the most in-demand first assistant directors in the business during the past few decades, died November 27 from anaplastic thyroid cancer. He was 57. Sandler was the go-to AD for the likes of Steven Spielberg, 12 films, Paul Thomas Anderson, 6, and Ridley Scott, 6. He also worked multiple times with Scott's brother Tony, Alejandro G. Iñárritu, and James Mangold. His most recent films include Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, Steve McQueen's Blitz, and Anderson's upcoming untitled Warner Bros. Film, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Sandler said during an AFI Conservatory Q&A in 2020, I think your job as good AD is to be a barometer to the set. If it's tense, you try and make it less tense. If maybe it's too slack, you try and snap it up. Try and get it to where the chemistry is the right level to do good work. Among Sandler's more memorable demonstrations of that skill was overseeing the wild airplane orgy scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. Sandler also was awarded the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement/Feature Film for his work with González Iñárritu on The Revenant. He also got Producers Guild and BAFTA Award noms for Licorice Pizza. Sandler is survived by his wife, Carmen Ruiz de Hudobro, his children, Olivia and Bosco, and his brother, Mark Sandler. A DGA scholarship in Sandler's name will be established with donation details forthcoming. Silvia Pinal, an actress in Mexico's golden age of cinema, has died. She was 93. Pinal had been hospitalized earlier this month for a urinary tract infection. Mexico's Secretary of Culture confirmed Pinal's death. The Ministry of Culture of the Government of Mexico regrets the passing of leading actress Silvia Pinal, read the statement posted on X. With a career spanning more than 6 decades, she participated in more than 60 films and plays. Her legacy lives on as a fundamental pillar of cinema, theater, and television in Mexico. May she rest in peace. Pinal was born in Guaymas, Sonora, Mexico on September 12, 1931. She studied acting at the National Institute of Fine Arts and Literature. Pinal's acting debut was in 1949 with the comedy Dos Pesos La Tijada. Pynell's only credit in a Hollywood production was in 1969 when she starred opposite Burt Reynolds in the film Shark, directed by Samuel Fuller. She also worked with Anthony Quinn and Charles Bronson in the French film Guns for San Sebastian, 1968. Katie Phillips, UK publicist, podcaster and founder of PR firm KPPR, has died aged 46. Phillips passed away Wednesday after some weeks spent back in hospital following her thyroid cancer diagnosis nearly 3 years ago in February 2022. The illness prompted Phillips to set up podcast Talking with Cancer. The last episode aired over this summer. Starting her career in the early 2000s as part of the Pleasance press office at the Edinburgh Fringe, she went on to work for the Sarah Mitchell Partnership, working on campaigns for the Reduced Shakespeare Company, the Vagina Monologues, Bill Bryson's Notes from a Small Island, as well as Ricky Gervais, The Jonathan Ross Show, Dara O'Brien, and Alan Kerr. She then worked at the PR office before founding her own entertainment publicity agency, Katie Phillips PR, in 2011, now KPPR. During her time running KPPR, she represented a number of comedy, TV, and entertainment personalities, including Ricky Gervais and Omid Jalili. The company's current clients also include hit BBC show, Have I Got News for You? Marshall Brickman, a low-key writer whose show business career ranged across movies, late-night television comedy, and Broadway, with the hit musical Jersey Boys, but who may be best remembered for collaborating on 3 of Woody Allen's most enthusiastically praised films, including the Oscar-winning Annie Hall, died on Friday in Manhattan. He was 85. His daughter Sophie Brickman confirmed the death. She did not cite a cause. Mr. Brickman and Mr. Allen first teamed up on the script for Sleeper, 1973, a science fiction comedy set in a totalitarian 22nd century America whose protagonist, a cryogenically unfrozen 20th century man, poses as a robot servant to save his life and then sets out to overthrow the government. Annie Hall, 1977, the Oscar-winning romance about urban neurotics, was their second project. 2 smart, insecure, witty singles meet at a Manhattan tennis club, consciously couple, measure their lives in psychotherapy sessions, find lobster humor in the Hamptons, and disagree about whether Los Angeles is beyond redemption. It won 4 Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Actress, Diane Keaton, Best Director, Mr. Allen, and Best Screenplay. The 2 men then wrote the screenplay of Manhattan, 1979, a contemporary black and white romantic comedy hailed at the time as a love letter to New York. It is now most often remembered because of its central relationship, a middle-aged man's affair with a high school girl, Mariel Hemingway, mirroring Mr. Allen's own scandal-tarnished later years. Mr. Brickman never had a career master plan. In his 20s, he told the New York Times in 1986, "I made a lot of decisions based on how late I could sleep in the morning." Lou Carnesecca, Street John's basketball coach, with 526 wins, is dead at 99. Known for his quick wit and garish sweaters, he took the New York City University to national basketball prominence over 24 seasons. Lou Carnesecca, the Hall of Fame coach who took Street John's University to national basketball prominence and who was known for his quick wit and colorful courtside persona, died on Saturday. He was 99. His death was confirmed by Brian Brown, a spokesman for the university, who provided no other details. When Carnesecca took over as the Street John's head coach in 1965, the university, while rich in basketball tradition, played as an independent. It had begun a gradual move to the Jamaica section of Queens from the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood of Brooklyn 10 years earlier, and its Alumni Hall athletic building was only 4 years old. With the founding of the Big East Conference in 1979, Street John's began competing regularly against leading basketball programs. Street John's renamed Alumni Hall as Lou Carnesecca Arena in November 2004. When Mullen was introduced by Carnesecca at his own Hall of Fame induction in 2011, he said, I chose the best coach in the best city. Following his coaching years, Carnesecca became a special assistant to the Street John's president, working in community relations. Street John said in a statement that Carnesecca is survived by his wife of 73 years, Mary Chiesa Carnesecca, a daughter, Ines Carnesecca, a granddaughter, Eva, a niece, Susan Chiesa, and a nephew, John Chiesa. In January 2001, Madison Square Garden raised a red and white banner emblazoned 526 for Carnesecca's 526 career victories in 24 seasons at Street John's. Will Cullen Hart, a visionary in indie rock and co-founder of the Elephant Six Collective, has passed away at the age of 53. Hart, known for his roles in the Olivia Tremor Control and Circulatory System, died suddenly and peacefully on Friday, November 29. His passing coincided with the release of the Olivia Tremor Control's first new music in over a decade, Garden of Light, and The Same Place. The news was shared by Robert Schneider, a fellow Elephant Six co-founder and frontman of the Apples in Stereo. Schneider revealed that Hart spent his final moments excitedly celebrating the release of the new tracks, which had been completed despite years of delays and Hart's battle with multiple sclerosis. Today is the day that Will's perseverance, his sincerity, and his devotion to his vision bear fruit, Schneider wrote. Born in 1971 in Ruston, Louisiana, Hart grew up alongside future collaborators Schneider, Bill Doss, and Jeff Mangum, Neutral Milk Hotel. Together, they formed the Elephant Six Collective, a revolutionary force in indie rock and psychedelic music. After relocating to Athens, Georgia, Hart co-founded the Olivia Tremor Control, whose landmark albums music from the unrealized film script, Dusk at Cubist Castle, 1996, and Black Foliage, Animation Music Volume 1, 1999, are revered as milestones in the genre. Following the Olivia Tremor Control's disbandment in 2000, Hart formed Circulatory System, continuing to create intricate and experimental music. His last album with the band, Mosaics Within Mosaics, was released in 2014. Hart was also a visual artist, creating iconic cover art for his projects and other Elephant Six members. Hart's passing marks the end of an era for the Elephant Six Collective, but leaves behind a lasting legacy in music and art. Fans can listen to Garden of Light and The Same Place on Bandcamp, two songs that embody Hart's indelible spirit and creativity. May Will Cullen Hart's influence continue to inspire, and may his memory endure in the hearts of all who cherished his work. Former chairman of Kentucky Republican Party Robert Bob Gable dead at age 90. Robert Bob Gable, a businessman and prominent figure in Kentucky's Republican Party for years, died at age 90 on Friday. Gable of Frankfort died at Baptist Health in Lexington, according to his obituary. He served as the chairman of Kentucky's Republican Party for 7 years in the 1980s and 1990s and ran the Stearns Coal and Lumber Company, which his great-grandfather, Justice Stearns, founded in 1902. Gable was born in 1934 in New York City and spent his childhood in Port Orford, Oregon, and Tucson, Arizona. He attended Stanford University, where he graduated in 1956 with an engineering degree. He went on to serve in the U.S. Navy after graduating college. Gable and his wife, Emily Brinton Thompson, settled in Stearns, Kentucky, where the couple raised 3 children, and he ran the family's coal business. He entered Kentucky's political sphere in the 1960s, helping run political campaigns and serving as commissioner of Kentucky State Parks under former Gov. Louis B. Nunn. In 1972, he lost a race for a seat in the U.S. Senate. He made a run at the office of Governor of Kentucky in 1975 and again in 1995, losing both races. Gable was preceded in death by his wife, Brinton Thompson, who died in 2017. He is survived by his children, James Gable, Elizabeth Gable Hicks, and John Gable, and 2 grandchildren. The humble farmer humorist Robert Skoglund dies at 88. His long career spanned radio, podcast and TV, and a regular column in the Press Herald. Skoglund died at home in Street George on Saturday. Humorist and radio host Robert Skoglund, also known as the humble farmer of Street George, died Saturday morning. His family shared on Facebook. He was 88. Often called the Garrison Keillor of New England, Skoglund's long career spanned radio, podcast, and TV, and a regular column in the Press Herald. Skoglund died peacefully at home at his farm in Street George, according to the post from his stepdaughter, Tamar Philbrook. Skoglund's jazz and commentary radio program, The Humble Farmer, which aired on Maine Public Radio from 1978 to 2007, featured his signature dry wit. He also produced a television show of the same name for public access stations and began releasing podcast episodes in 2013. He is survived by two stepdaughters, Philbrook and Allison Van Zandbergen, and three granddaughters, Sydney and Madeline Philbrook and Avelaine Dries. He was devoted to his wife, Marcia Van Zandbergen, whom he famously referred to as the almost perfect woman. Philbrook wrote, "He was bigger than life." Philbrook wrote, "He entertained many over the years, from radio listeners to entertainment/speaking events to rants on Facebook. He was loved by many. And yes, knew just how to get under other people's skin." Skoglund published 2 books of columns called Chicken Poop for the Reader's Soil. He also played multiple instruments and spoke several languages. This 70s and 80s teen idol gained fame with 8 is Enough and Charles in Charge. However, his life unraveled as his marriage ended, leaving him homeless and estranged from his child. This once promising career began early, and by his teenage years, success seemed limitless. Reflecting on his meteoric rise in the co-authored book, Grace is Enough, the star divulged, "I did my first commercial at the age of 9, and by 19, I was making $1 million a year and doing a killer job of going through most of it." At the peak of his stardom on 8 is Enough, the actor experienced significant personal milestones. In 1979, he married Victoria Averbach, and 2 years later, in 1981, they welcomed their son, Christopher Ames, their only child, together. The couple's marriage ended in 1984, marking the beginning of a devastating period for the actor. At the height of his success on 8 is Enough, alongside Adam Rich, whom he once referred to as his little brother and lifelong friend, the TV star earned just over $1 million annually. Then suddenly there was no job, no bank account, no wife, no child. "I never dreamt it could happen that fast," the celebrity admitted. Struggling to survive, he revealed, "I found myself virtually homeless. I stayed with friends when I could, slept in parking garages, or slept in the park." He described the experience as deeply shameful, recalling moments spent lying beneath bushes and questioning, "Is this how it turns out? Is this how my life really turns out?" The struggles during this turbulent time took a heavy toll, with reports suggesting he may have reached a breaking point and attempted suicide. When looking back, he acknowledged, "I gave people a lot of cause for concern, and I think they acted on those concerns. I'm glad they did. Beyond that, that time period is a blur." Willie Ames' journey is a shining example of determination, love, and new beginnings, proving that even in life's darkest moments, renewal is possible. Through his struggles and triumphs, he found lasting love and created a story worth sharing, both on and off screen.